She's seen record-breaking fundraising numbers, racking up endorsements from major party names like former President Barack Obama. And she's secured the majority of delegates needed to become the Democratic nominee at the convention in August. Not to mention the groundswell of grassroots support, as several groups within days of her campaign announcement held Zoom calls, raising millions of dollars. Joining me now is Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, a member of the House Oversight and Accountability Committee. Congresswoman, it's always so good to see you. This past Sunday, you were a part of that historic Zoom call held by Win with Black Women. It raised over $1.5 million in just a few hours. Talk a bit about how that call went and the enthusiasm that we're all seeing and feeling since Kamala Harris jumped into the race.
Yeah, so first of all, I just want to say thank you to my amazing sorority sister, Joteka. She has been doing the Win with Black Women call ever since the pandemic, since 2020. Obviously, it's normally not over 40,000 women that join us. And so definitely there had to be some adjustments made for Zoom. But nevertheless, you could feel the excitement. And this was on the day of the announcement. So this was on that very first day, that Sunday, that she was able to organize and pull these women out. And I could not be more proud. But then again, it was still very fresh. It was the exact same day. But then the next day, we saw Win with Black Men. We also ultimately ended up seeing Win with Asian folk. We saw Win with Black queer folk. We saw everyone kind of coming together. And finally, we saw, white women for Harris. And they broke all the Zoom records, right? Well over 160,000 people. And so we are starting to see the excitement that we need to be able to take down Trump and his MAGA cult.
And let's talk about Donald Trump. I want you to take a listen to something that Donald Trump said last night about Christian voters. Take a quick listen.
And again, Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians.
Okay, so Jasmine, let's talk about this, because I got MAGA coming at me right now on social media telling me that I'm crazy, because my interpretation of what Donald Trump said was he's never going to leave the Oval Office. And they're telling me two kind of resounding, repeated messages that I want to share with you. One, they're telling me that Donald Trump is too old to stay forever in the Oval Office, which I agree. I think he's too old. He's too old to be in the Oval Office. But number two, they're also telling me that Donald Trump peacefully left the last time he was in the Oval Office. And why am I saying that the man would never leave? I want to get your thoughts, because I think both of those things are stupid.
Well, I agree. Donald is too old. He's been too old. He's been too crazy. He's been too everything. He's too much of a criminal as well. But no, and y'all cut right before the really good part, where he said, I'm not a Christian. I thought that was amazing, as the super Christian folk are saying that he is our orange savior. But nevertheless, no, we know. I mean, this guy has flirted with things such as tyranny when he said things like, I will only be a dictator on day one. We know that they tried to pull a coup on us, even though they are now trying to make sure that they rewrite history and say, oh, no, this was just some sort of good patriots that were on a tour through the Capitol. They just happened to break shit, hurt people, and ultimately there were deaths that were caused as it relates to January 6th. So, yeah, no, they are absolutely all about this life. We know that the Supreme Court has set it up so that he can do whatever he wants to by giving him immunity. And we know that he picked J.D. Vance because he wanted J.D. Vance to do what Mike Pence wouldn't. Ultimately, when Mike Pence would not steal the election for him and agreed to certify the election, they said, hang Mike Pence. So when we start talking about violence and where it comes from, it is all started and ending with MAGA.
So the GOP struggling, it seems, for a consistent message to attack Kamala Harris, but they sure were quick to unleash an oldie but goodie from the Republican side, calling Kamala Harris a DEI hire. Your thoughts on that?
Basically, you just laid it out. They racist. I mean, I've been calling them racist for a long time. Even when we go back to January 6th, we know the neo-Nazis were there. We know he told the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by. And so they are always sending a dog whistle, but we not crazy. We also know that when we look at diversity, equity, and inclusion, and when we tie it into affirmative action, we know that white women historically have benefited the most from affirmative action. So they act as if when you say DEI, it only means a person of color, but actually it doesn't. Diversity goes beyond just your color. But nevertheless, we know that they have nothing of substance to contribute, because if they did, they would go after the substance. And so long as they continue with their dog whistles and their nonsense, that only plays to their base, and their base alone cannot win this election. So as far as I'm concerned, we are winning.
Yeah, it's not just a dog whistle. I said the other day on MS that it was a bullhorn. Really quickly, I have to say, Donald Trump is chickening out of a debate with Kamala Harris. I think that's a big tell that he's not willing to go toe-to-toe with a former prosecutor like Kamala. Your thoughts on why Donald Trump can't buck up and actually do what he promised he was going to do?
Yeah, if I was Donald, I wouldn't want to see another prosecutor either, especially a black one, because every time it seems like a black prosecutor gets their hands on Donald Trump, it doesn't really go well for him. When you look at New York, whether you're looking at AG Letitia James and taking away his ability to operate businesses in the state of New York, or whether we're looking at Alvin Bragg and the fact that his freedom actually hangs in the balance because he's got these 34 felony convictions at the hands of Alvin Bragg, or when we look down in Georgia, where he has been running away from Fonnie Willis and turning in every which way that he could, because that grand jury was able to indict him, and a number of his co-defendants have pled guilty, and he does not want to face the music there. So yeah, if I was him, yeah, I would be shaking in my boots as well.
Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, I put on social media, ready for some truth telling, and we got it with you. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it.
Great to see you.
And joining me now, Keisha Lance Bottoms, senior advisor to the Harris campaign and the vice chair of the Democratic National Committee. Keisha, it's an honor to have you on the show. Look, there's some really good energy. We're all feeling it right now, welcoming Vice President Kamala Harris to the presidential campaign trail. But I wanted to speak with you and start first with the following. You are also a senior advisor to President Biden. I think it takes a moment to, we feel the celebratory energy about Kamala, but I think we really got to give credit where credit is due. This idea of President Joe Biden, his legacy of passing a torch to another generation, but also doing so with such decency.
Oh my gosh, I was so very proud to be a part of this incredible team. And it really has been the Biden-Harris team the entire way. And when I watched the president in the Oval Office, it reminded me of why I was so excited to support him as a candidate in 2020, just such dignity. And I remember one of the first meetings I had with then candidate Biden. He said then that he wanted to be a bridge to the next generation. And obviously, we didn't know that it would work out this way. But he was absolutely right. He was spot on in picking Vice President or then Senator Harris to serve as his vice president and to be a part of just this historic transition. I think really will speak to his legacy, in addition to all of the phenomenal work that this administration has been able to accomplish.
I also thought it was important to have you on to maybe quell some fears. We've been hearing some rumblings about legal action being taken by the GOP when it comes to the nomination of Kamala Harris. We do know she's secured the requisite number of delegates, but look, there's a process that's going to happen at the DNC at the convention next month in Chicago. What's going on in terms of the rules, et cetera? I mean, from what I can tell and from what I've been hearing, there shouldn't be any type of legal problems if Kamala Harris ends up being the ultimate nominee.
Well, I think it's quite ironic that the party that supported an attempted overthrowing of the United States government is now concerned about how we are conducting our business as the Democratic Party. But that being said, the rules are now in place that if there is another candidate who wants to throw their hat in the ring, they certainly have the ability to do that. We publish those rules, the number of delegates that are needed in order for that candidate to be considered for the nominee. But as you know, Vice President Harris has locked up commitments from the necessary delegates needed to ensure that she is our nominee. So we're pushing full speed ahead. And the bump that you are already seeing with Vice President Harris is a bump that we're seeing before we've even gotten to the convention. And so with all of this excitement, I'm really excited. Everyone I talk to is really excited. But at the end of the day, people still have to show up and vote. So that's where we're going to place our focus, making sure that people are showing up to vote, focusing especially in these states that we know will make a tremendous difference in this election, and just reminding people it's not over until it's over.
So I'm not going to put you on the spot unless you're welcoming the invitation to be able to say who you think the VP pick should be for Kamala Harris. But I'm going to read a little bit of tea leaves because Andy Bashir, his name has been bandied about. We know that he's being vetted. He's heading to Atlanta tomorrow, to a battleground state of Georgia, to campaign for Kamala Harris. But your thoughts about kind of this VP process that we're seeing that's happening right now?
Every single person whose name we've heard will run circles around J.D. Vance. They are all exceedingly qualified. And as someone who's been through this process before, it's a very stressful process. So God bless them all going through this. But at the end of the day, each of the people whose names we've heard mentioned have said whether they are the VP or not, they will support Kamala Harris and making sure that we defeat Donald Trump. And I really don't think that you can go wrong with any of the names who've been mentioned.
I'm going to agree with you. I don't think it's diplomacy to say that it is an embarrassment of riches in terms of the Veep stakes that's going on right now. I think any of them would be an amazing compliment to President Kamala Harris. Keisha Lance Bottoms, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
And a quick programming note for all of our viewers. Tomorrow, 100 days out from Election Day, you've got Ali Velshi, Jen Psaki, Ari Melber, and more. They're going to break down what comes next in this historic presidential election now that Vice President Kamala Harris is the presumptive Democratic nominee. Watch all day tomorrow on MSNBC beginning at 8 a.m. Eastern. But coming up here, the women wild card, how female voters could decide the outcome of the 2024 election, and how Democrats are hoping to convince white suburban women, in particular, to come on over to their side. And later, SCOTUS scrutiny, why Justice Elena Kagan wants to enforce ethics rules for her and her colleagues on the Supreme Court. Stay with us.
I thought I was sleeping okay, but I was waking up so tired. Then I tried new ZzzQuil Sleep Nasal Strips. Their 4-point lift design opens my nose for maximum airflow, so I breathe better.
And we both sleep better and stay married.
Better days start with ZzzQuil Nights.
Over 1 million people have put Super Beats by Human blood pressure support supplements to the test. And the numbers tell the story. We have over 80,000 5-star ratings and reviews. We're trusted by over 120 pro and college sports teams. Super Beats is the #1 selling beet brand. The only #1 doctor, pharmacist, and cardiologist recommended beet brand for heart health support. See why we've won the hearts of people across America and get a free month supply on all bundles at superbeats.com.
Home warranty.
Focus.
Yes, focus on an American Home Shield warranty. It can protect your covered home systems and appliances like this AC with a repair or replacement.
Yes, thank you.
Home.
It's home, not home.
Yeah, it's home. Pretty sure it's home. American Home Shield. Don't worry, be warranty.
To improve your digital security, just turn on NordVPN. Guard yourself from data snoopers, encrypt your online traffic, and block malicious sites. Get the deal now.
This week, Zoom was clocking overtime as several grassroots groups took to the online service to organize and fundraise in support of Vice President Kamala Harris. That includes a group of white women who actually broke Zoom after nearly 200,000 of them joined the call in support of Harris's campaign. And joining me now is Shannon Watts, the founder of Moms Demand Action and the organizer of the White Women Answer the Call Zoom call. Shannon, I was so excited to have you on the show because, look, I dialed in for that Zoom call on Thursday. I was even doing it remotely from a plane, but I was so excited to hear the energy on that call. But I need to know, at last count, it was nearly 200,000 women that raised over $8.5 million in less than 90 minutes. But I think these numbers are still growing. So what are the latest on that call?
I woke up to an email this morning saying that we have now raised over $11 million from a 2-hour call, which is pretty astronomical. And I'm just so thrilled and grateful for everyone who has donated.
I mean, I have to pick up my jaw off the floor a little bit because I saw from, followers and people on social media, a lot of these people that gave the money from this call, these are some first-time donors, number one. But number two, a lot of them signed up for recurring contributions because they believe so much in this. And, I was looking at some of the stats, and I was looking at Pew Research, for example. It said that white women in the last 2 presidential elections supported Donald Trump over the Democratic nominee, and that number was like 47% to 45% in 2016, but then it grew to 53% in 2020. How much did that play into your decision to organize this call?
Well, for me, the way it started was I saw a woman named Joteka Edie having a call with Win with Black Women. I mean, just hours after Kamala Harris was clearly going to be the presumptive nominee. And 44,000 people, they raised nearly $1.5 million. And then the next day, Black men did the same thing. And when I woke up Tuesday morning, I thought, are white women going to do this too? We have a lot of political power and economic power that we can tap into. And so I just put a tweet out saying, who's in? And the response was just overwhelming. And, in 2 days, we were able to pull this huge call together. It was the largest Zoom call in history. We kept crashing because there were so many people on the platform. We had to go to other social media streaming services. In all, about 200,000 people, as you said, saw it. And so, look, I think what white women, the conversation we needed to have was less of a rally and more of a reckoning around the data that you just gave. And if you look even further back than the last 2 elections, the majority of white women have only voted for Democrats twice in the last, since the 1950s. And so we have a lot of work to do if we want to elect the first woman, the first Black woman, the first AAPI woman president. And that's what Thursday night's conversation was about.
Yeah, and I want to make sure that our viewers know it's not just white women, but it's Black men, Black women, South Asians, LGBTQ plus supporters that are doing these Zoom calls. What is the common cause here that's creating this amazing diversity of a coalition?
I just think there are so many people who are so excited about electing Kamala Harris president and want to get involved in their own way. And look, to be clear, we are coming together as a much larger coalition. In fact, on Monday night, Women for Harris is having a conference call, and our call sent so many new volunteers to them, they actually had to move the call by 1 day to get the technology that they needed to have all those callers on the line. And so I would hope that everyone will sign up for the Women for Harris call on Monday night, because we will get very specific marching orders about what to do next and over the next 100 days to make sure that Kamala Harris is president.
Well, and that's going to you just stole my thunder a little bit, because I really wanted to ask you, how does this momentum stay between now and November?
Look, I think the energy is so overwhelming and so palpable and just proves how electable Kamala Harris is. And this is about organizing. And that's what you're seeing happen on these calls. It's just the first step to what we need to do to get out the vote. We need everyone to be making calls, to be knocking doors. Maybe you're going to spend some time in a swing state this summer so that you can get out the vote. We all need to do our part, and we can't afford to sit on the sidelines. As they say, democracy is something that we all need to get involved in. Otherwise, it won't thrive. It will fail. And the choice is so stark in November, right, between freedom and fascism. And so I would just ask everyone who's watching us today to figure out a piece of the work that they can take on and then commit to doing it over the next 100 days. And if we all do that, we will win.
Shannon Watts, my friend, it's always so good to see you. And thank you for sharing not only the energy, but just kind of the sense of urgency that's really going to help carry this momentum through November. I always appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And coming up, justice for all? As Jack Smith tackles his appeal in the classified documents case and Republicans lay the groundwork courtesy of Project 2025 to subvert the DOJ, should Trump win in November, the stakes could not be higher for the American justice system. We'll discuss after a quick break.
Here's to getting better with age.
Here's to beating these two every Thursday.
Help fuel today with Boost High Protein. Complete nutrition you need without the stuff you don't. So, here's to now.
Sleep more deeply and wake up rejuvenated. Purple Mattresses' exclusive Gel Flex Grid draws away heat, relieves pressure, and instantly adapts. Sleep better. Live Purple. Visit purple.com or a store near you today.
You know, when I take the bike out like this, all my stresses just melt away.
I hear that. This bad boy can fix anything.
Yep, tough day at work. Nice cruiser sort you right out.
When I'm riding, I'm not even thinking about my painful cavity.
Oh, you shouldn't ignore that.
And every time I get stressed about having to pay my bills, I just hop on the bike, man.
Oh, come on, man. You gotta pay your bills.
You don't have to worry about anything when you're protected by America's #1 motorcycle insurer.
Well, you definitely do. Those things aren't related, so...
Oh, that is a vibrating pain.
Whether you're in your 40s, 50s, or 60s and beyond, I know you're seeing changes in the skin on your body. Don't panic. It's never too late to transform yourself and your skin. And Crepe Erase is here to do just that.
Crepe Erase has been delivering smoother, firmer, younger-looking skin for almost a decade.
Did you know that Crepe Erase is America's #1 selling anti-aging body treatment system for dry, crepey skin? That's because it works, people.
The Crepe Erase two-step system is clinically shown to reduce crepey-looking skin the very first time you use it.
I just love my skin. I didn't love it before. I love it now.
And now there's big news. We're introducing the Skin Revitalizing Tool, specially designed to amplify the power of Crepe Erase.
This is the Skin Revitalizing Tool. It is new and it is free. Yes, you heard me right. It's free when you get the products.
Crepe Erase is already an incredible deal at only $49.95. But when you order today, we'll send you the Skin Revitalizing Tool, a $129 value free.
I mean, it's like having a spa in your hand.
And you'll also receive our luxurious neck repair treatment, a $49 value free.
Since using Crepe Erase, the skin on my neck looks airbrushed. I love it.
These two incredible bonuses are valued together at $178, but they're our free gift to you.
Crepe Erase is something I recommend to my patients because it works.
Don't wait. Get all this, a $247 value for only $49.95, plus free shipping.
If you're not reveling in your younger looking soft and sexy skin, just return the bottles, even if they're used up and empty, and we'll give you your money back.
This is a limited time offer that will not last. Scan the QR code, call, or go to crepeerase.com and order right now.
You know, there's this thing called age, and it sucks.
If you're over 50, imagine you could turn back the clock on your stiff, achy joints by years. Introducing InstaFlex Advanced.
It's restored my joints without just temporarily masking my symptoms. When you can find a product that can take that away to the point that you can live your life again, that is a miracle to me.
Get a complimentary sample by texting SECRET to 231231. InstaFlex Advanced targets the root cause of joint soreness and stiffness with a unique combination of 5 key natural ingredients. Key ingredients backed by 5 clinical studies.
I love this product. I'm telling you, it works.
InstaFlex Advanced is the #1 selling joint brand at GNC, but you can only get your complimentary sample by texting SECRET to 231231. Plus, text now, and we'll include a tube of InstaFlex pain cream for fast-acting relief absolutely free. Text SECRET to 231231 today.
DealDash.com. Online auctions since 2009. This PlayStation 5 sold for only 50 cents. This iPad Pro sold for less than $34. And this Nintendo Switch sold for less than $20. Go to DealDash.com and see how much you can save.
After Homoglow cleaned our place for $19, we fired our old housekeeper. Homoglow tackled everything, from our kitchen to our bathroom, all our laundry. You just pick a date, pick a cleaner, and enjoy a spotless house for $19.
As the great Lenny Kravitz once said, so many tears we've cried, so much pain inside, but baby, it ain't over till it's over. So call me a hopeless optimist, but I'm a true believer that Donald Trump will still face accountability for his prolific criming. And Special Counsel Jack Smith is fueling my hopes with his appeal in Trump's classified documents case. The 11th Circuit 2 days ago setting the briefing schedule for the appeal. Jack Smith will have until August 27th to file his initial brief, Trump having 30 days after that to file his response, and Smith has the option to file a reply brief. Admittedly, the timing isn't ideal with Election Day right around the corner, but America will still be reminded of how Donald Trump used the Oval Office to intentionally keep our nation's most classified secrets. Joining me now is Preet Bharara, former United States Attorney of the Southern District of New York, the host of the Stay Tuned with Preet podcast, and the co-host of the Cafe Insider podcast. Preet, it's always such an honor to have you on the show. I have a question that I know a lot of our viewers have as well. Why isn't Special Counsel Jack Smith moving the 11th Circuit to do expedited briefing on this appeal?
Yeah, so it's a great question. Good to be with you. Always nice to be on your show. You pointed it out in your intro. The timing is not ideal. Even in the best case scenario, the most expedited possible appeal would not be concluded before the election, and probably would not be concluded before the swearing of the next president, whether it's Kamala Harris or Donald Trump. So I guess for those reasons, they must have made a tactical decision not to go overboard and try to expedite it further. I think the more important question, which I'm sure you were about to ask or get to, is when they make the appeal, are they going to simultaneously ask for the recusal or the disqualification of Judge Cannon, who was alone in her legal view and legal conclusion about the unconstitutionality of the special counsel. And I think there's a reasonable chance that they will do that.
Preet, I also wanted to have you on because you had a storied and incredibly successful career at the DOJ. And if we look at Project 2025, it's explicit. It lays out a roadmap of how Trump is going to control the DOJ, centralize and control within the executive branch. It actually says in the Project 2025 blueprint, quote, while the supervision of litigation is a DOJ responsibility, the department falls under the direct supervision and control of the President of the United States as a component of the executive branch. Litigation decisions must be made consistent with the president's agenda. I mean, Preet, how would a second Trump presidency framed by Project 2025 destroy any independence of a Department of Justice?
For all those reasons you just described. You know, Donald Trump has tried to distance himself from Project 2025 because he's seeing how unpopular it is, deeply unpopular it is with the electorate at large. Meanwhile, the Heritage Foundation that's responsible for Project 2025 was also largely responsible for the makeup of the Supreme Court on the conservative side. And the people who have written many of the portions of Project 2025 are very, very close former advisors of Donald Trump. And by the way, this whole idea of controlling the Justice Department from the White House, from the Oval Office, notwithstanding decades and decades of norms to the contrary, is something that Donald Trump deeply believes in himself. And he tried to get Jim Comey to do things. He tried to get Jeff Sessions to not recuse himself. He tried to get Bill Barr and others who were prepared to go only so far along with Donald Trump's agenda. So this is something, and by the way, my origin story of being back in the private sector was that Donald Trump tried to call me, the sitting U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York, presumably to have an untoward relationship and cultivate me to do his bidding eventually. And I didn't take the call. I wouldn't speak to him because I thought it was inappropriate without knowing the subject of the call. And I was terminated. So as much as he wants to distance himself from this radical weaponization idea of Project 2025, every impulse and inclination on his part is completely in line with it.
Preet, you got the chance to sit down on your amazing podcast, Stay Tuned with Preet, with the second gentleman, Doug Emhoff. No spoilers here, because I think everybody should subscribe and listen to your podcast. But I wanted to quickly get your thoughts on having a former prosecutor as a candidate for POTUS, like we have in Kamala Harris, and even Doug Emhoff's background as a lawyer for more than 30 years, and him serving as such an effective advocate for his wife's policies.
So I think she's uniquely situated. Excuse me. To talk about some of these issues we've been discussing. Back in 2020, when she was running in the Democratic primary, I think her qualifications and track record and expertise and background as a prosecutor was not quite as, I think, propulsive for somebody running in the Democratic primary. But now in a general election, 4 years later, when you have a presumptive, or not presumptive, but an actual Republican nominee who's been convicted of a series of crimes in one jurisdiction, has cases pending against him of a criminal nature in 3 other jurisdictions, the setting and the posture of a prosecutor versus somebody who's a convicted felon and could be convicted 3 more times is a lot more compelling. And I think she can bring to bear her reputation and experience in fighting for the rule of law, holding corrupt people accountable, holding the rich and powerful people accountable in a way that was not as resonant back in 2020, given the nature of the election and the nature of the primaries. So I think it's a very powerful thing. And I do encourage people to listen to Doug Emhoff on the podcast, because he is a strong, strong advocate and a powerful and articulate one on behalf of Vice President Kamala Harris in this election, and also talks about issues that are incredibly important, including the rise of anti-Semitism and the fight for reproductive rights. So he's a powerful force and ally of the vice president.
He really is exceptional, and I think he is a great complement to, hopefully, President Kamala Harris. Preet Bharara, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks,
and I urge everybody to tune in and listen to your podcast. Thanks for being here. And coming up, enforcing ethics in the wake of several rulings that have legal scholars scratching their heads. One Supreme Court justice wants outside oversight on the nation's highest court, and she's getting support from a very powerful ally. We'll explain coming up next.
I thought I was sleeping okay, but I was waking up so tired. Then I tried new ZzzQuil Sleep Nasal Strips. Their 4-point lift design opens my nose for maximum airflow, so I breathe better.
And we both sleep better and stay married.
Better days start with ZzzQuil Nights.
Okay, everyone. Our mission is to provide complete balanced nutrition for strength and energy.
Ensure with 27 vitamins and minerals, nutrients for immune health, and Ensure Complete with 30 grams of protein.
Super Beets, America's original and #1 selling beet brand for heart health support, is now available at Walmart. More cardiologists recommend Super Beets for heart health support than any other beet brand. So head to Walmart and try Super Beets Heart Chews today.
Lawmakers are trying to shut down Planned Parenthood. The health care of more than 2 million people is at stake.
Our right to basic reproductive health care is being stolen from us. Planned Parenthood believes everyone deserves health care. It's a human right. Future generations are beginning to lose the rights we fought for. The rights for ourselves, our kids, and our grandkids. Gone, just like that.
I can't believe this is the world we live in, where we're losing the freedom to control our own bodies.
Last year, politicians in 47 states introduced bills that would block people from getting the sexual and reproductive care they need. Where does it end? Planned Parenthood fights for you every day, but we need your support now more than ever. Visit this website, call, or scan the code on your screen with your $19 monthly gift. Help us win the fight for the constitutional right to control our own bodies.
Truly, if Planned Parenthood had not stepped in, I would not be here today. They saved my life.
Your support is urgent. Our rights and the rights of future generations are at risk, and lives are at risk.
And that's why we have to keep fighting in every state, everywhere.
Donate $19 a month or whatever you can afford, and you'll help us fight against laws that block care and take away our rights.
We fight to make sure everyone and anyone can get the care they need.
But we need your help, and there's never been a more urgent time to join. So go online, call, or scan this code now. Sign up with your monthly gift today, and we'll send you this Care No Matter What t-shirt.
It is your right to have safe health care. That's it.
We won't give up, and we won't back down.
We need you now more than ever. Go online, call, or scan right now.
I can only juggle so many things. That's why I use HomaGlow. It's easy to find reliable house cleaners to keep my daily life balanced. And the best part? My first cleaning was just $19.
DealDash.com. Online auctions since 2009. This PlayStation 5 sold for only 50 cents. This iPad Pro sold for less than $34. And this Nintendo Switch sold for less than $20. Go to DealDash.com and see how much you can save.
Waterline broke. Replacing kit costs thousands. Not covered by homeowners insurance.
Honey, wake up. Here's Tom Rusin, CEO of HomeServe.
A plan from HomeServe pays for the covered repair cost for water lines, and we send a qualified contractor. The American dream of owning a home doesn't need to be a nightmare.
Sleep well with HomeServe.
Plans from HomeServe start at just $7.99 a month.
Call 1-800-355-9395 or visit homeserve.com.
Life is full of surprises, but we've got your back. With early payday, so you don't have to wait. And easy credit building to keep you moving forward. That's why Chime's the #1 most loved banking app.
This is a story about the one. The untrained eye may not see the one as extraordinary, but her goals aren't easy. She fixes, she manages, she perfects. She is extraordinary. Because for the one, maintaining this space transports her to this space. The industrial-grade product you need, plus 1 million more. Call, click Grainger.com or stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The calls for reform are coming from inside the court. This week, Supreme Court Justice Elena Kagan publicly calling for Chief Justice Roberts to appoint a panel of judges that would enforce a new code of conduct adopted by the court in November. Kagan saying, quote, rules usually have enforcement mechanisms attached to them, and this set of rules does not. The Supreme Court has been dogged by demands for reform after several controversial rulings that have overturned precedent left and right. But now President Joe Biden is entering the chat, vowing to focus on the court as he sunsets his presidency.
Over the next 6 months, I'll be focused on doing my job as president. And I'm going to call for Supreme Court reform because this is critical to our democracy.
Joining me now, my friend Ellie Ying-Mistal, correspondent for The Nation, host of Contempt of Court podcast, and the author of the New York Times bestseller, Allow Me to Retort, A Black Guy's Guide to the Institution. Ellie, it's always so good to see you. Before I get to your latest piece of The Nation, which I thought was fantastic, I do want to talk about Elena Kagan. I have to ask, why is she asking for it now? I mean, timing is everything, right? And she's always been kind of one of the bigger, better arbiters of justice, I think, on that Supreme Court. But the timing's a little funky here. And I'm grateful for what Biden is saying, but what is going on, Ellie? Why now?
Yeah, so to quote Sam Seaborn from The West Wing, let's ignore the fact that they're a little late to the party and embrace the fact that they showed up at all, right? Like that's my starting position, right? At least we are here now. Now, why does Kagan say this now? Because remember, Kagan signed on to the weak sauce ethics reform along with all the other Supreme Court justices, knowing full well that there was no enforcement mechanism when she signed on to it. So why now is she coming out with this idea that maybe there should be some enforcement mechanism? Well, I think that's because Joe Biden has shown up to the party late, and now he's interested in doing some Supreme Court reform. We already know that Kamala Harris has been interested in Supreme Court ethics reform, especially from when she was running for president the first time, right? So I think what Kagan is doing is sending out a little signal because, she's not like, Brett Kavanaugh and them. She's not going to call up Joe and be like, hey, why don't you that's not how Kagan operates. Kagan actually has an ethical center, right? So what I think she is doing through the media is signaling to the Biden administration, signaling to a potentially Harris administration that there are people on the court, at least I can think of 3 of them, who would be interested in taking this weak sauce ethics reform and making it something real by having third-party oversight. Now, the problem with Kagan's idea is that this idea has already been rejected by the conservatives. And I refer specifically to Brett Kavanaugh. People remember Dr. Ford. People remember his horrible confirmation hearing. But let's not forget, after he was confirmed, there were still 83 ethics complaints outstanding against Brett Kavanaugh. And 10th Circuit Chief Judge Tim Timkovich said that he could not rule. He did not exonerate Brett. He dismissed the 83 ethics complaints, saying that as a lower court judge, he had no authority to impose any kind of sanctions or penalties on Brett Kavanaugh, right? So this idea that the lower court judges can impose the Supreme Court's ethics reform, I think it's a great idea. Does Chief Justice John Roberts think it's a great idea? Do the other 6 conservatives think it's a great idea? Because if not, we still have a fundamental problem. So this is a good thought. This is a good kind of test balloon. And I think I am happy to say that it looks like people in power in the Democratic Party are finally getting the memo that the Supreme Court is extremist and out of control and needs to be brought to heel. But we have a long way to go from these kind of test balloons to actual legislation and actual reform.
Well, actual legislation has been pushed by people like Senator Ed Markey. He's urging the Judiciary Act to get passed, and that would be a 13-justice Supreme Court of the United States. It would be an expansion from 9 to 13. Why such opposition to this? I mean, it's been done before, albeit a long time ago, but it's been done before, and it invites more of a community of a discussion and a more balanced, I think, approach when it comes to dealing with some of the most momentous cases for the United States.
Yeah, people think that like this is like baseball where 9 is some kind of sacred number. It ain't. The Supreme Court started with 5, went to 6, went to 7, went to 9, went to 10, then went back down to 9, and that's where we've been for a while. But there's nothing in the Constitution that says there cannot be more justices than 9. And here's the key about Markey's idea. Here's the key about expanding the court. The way that I've put it, it's expanding the court is like giving an elephant a tranquilizer dart before you put on the radio tracking collar so you can do all the other scientific things you want to do, right? I like ethics reform. I like term limits, but you can't get ethics reform and term limits past this 9-member Supreme Court. So you need to trank it with more judges before you can have all your nice things. To use the elephant analogy, if you do that the wrong way around, right? You try to put the radio collar on before you trank the elephant, you just get trampled, right? Like that's not a good day for the scientists. Expanding the court is so we can get justices on the court who think that there should be an ethics reform, who think that they should have term limits, and then you can pass your legislation and not get those pieces of legislation knocked down, essentially vetoed by the 6-3 conservative supermajority who believes that they are above the law.
It's like a horse cart thing. Quickly, Ellie, before I have to let you go, your article that you dropped titled, "Beware the People Who Claim, quote, America isn't ready for a black woman president." I agree. We should beware. There's a line out of your piece I want to quickly read for our viewers, which I thought was so good. You say, "It's not enough for white men to be in control of all the levers of power. They and those who do their bidding also have to make everybody else feel like they don't deserve power and won't be able to have any, even if they try." Tell us, Ellie, how do we remove and eliminate any of this defeatist attitude that goes into the idea of a President Harris administration?
Yeah, I just don't buy into the idea that America is not ready, because America has, by my clock, 6 months to get ready. Right? We got 6 months to get ready for what's coming. And that's the only important thing, right? America will be ready for a black woman president once America votes for a black woman president. And there are all these reasons why we should vote for Harris over the dictator who says that this will be the last election anybody has to vote for at all, right? Like there are all sorts of reasons to support Harris in this election, and America will get ready. This idea that it always needs to be later, that we are perpetually not ready for this or that change, that everybody's asking for too much too soon. Most other major Western democracies have already cleared this really basic low hurdle of full equality and electing a woman leader. We are behind. We are retrograde compared to the rest of the world on this issue. And so if Italy can do it and France can do it and England can do it, then you know what? I think America can do it too. Perhaps I have a higher opinion of America than the conservatives who say that we are not ready, that we can't get this done.
Well, to quote the great Kamala Harris, we're not going back. So if we're not going to go in reverse and we're only going to go forward, then I think it's time for our first female president. Ellie Ying-Mistal, my friends, good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Have a great weekend.
You too. And coming up, see her be her. Kamala Harris hopes she can gain traction among America's fastest growing voting bloc, the Big Tent AAPI community. That's next.
I thought I was sleeping okay, but I was waking up so tired. Then I tried new ZzzQuil Sleep Nasal Strips. Their 4-point lift design opens my nose for maximum airflow, so I breathe better.
And we both sleep better and stay married.
Better days start with ZzzQuil Nights.
Dexcom G7 is one of the easiest ways to take better control of your diabetes. This small wearable replaces finger sticks, lowers A1C, and it's covered by Medicare.
Not managing your diabetes really affects your health for the future. The older you get, the more complications you're going to see.
I knew I couldn't ignore my diabetes anymore because it was causing my eyesight to go bad.
For my patients, getting on Dexcom G7 is the biggest eye-opener they've ever had.
I couldn't believe how easy it was. This small wearable sends my glucose numbers right to my phone or my receiver. With just a glance, I can see if I'm going high, low, or steady, so I can make quick decisions in the moment.
Now I'm a superstar. My A1C is 5.7.
My A1C has never been lower.
No other CGM system is more affordable for Medicare patients than Dexcom G7. Don't wait. Call now and talk to a real person.
Iconic supermodel Cindy Crawford has big news.
This is our 20th anniversary of Meaningful Beauty.
More than 5 million women have trusted their skin to Meaningful Beauty.
I've been using Meaningful Beauty for 15 years.
12 years.
I'm 45. I started when I was 27.
A lot of women will try a product once, but when you get repeat customers, that means it works, and that means they love it as much as I do.
Start your journey today at meaningfulbeauty.com.
What if you could whiten your teeth by simply brushing your teeth? Now you can with Smile Actives, the teeth whitening breakthrough that safely gets your teeth white and keeps them white every day just by brushing your teeth.
I never thought that whitening my teeth could be so easy. I just put the gel on the brush, the toothpaste on it, brush, and I can see my white teeth.
Simply add Smile Actives to any toothpaste and our patented PolyClean technology activates into a powerful microfoam that penetrates into the enamel surface to safely lift and remove stains.
You need a simple way to whiten your teeth. Without strips, without trays, without going to the dentist. And it was about time that a product was developed that you would be able to do that with just brushing.
And now, Smile Actives is even better with new Pro Whitening Gel with 33% greater whitening power, clinically shown to whiten teeth faster, up to 8 shades. 100% of users saw whiter teeth. On food stains, coffee and wine stains, even on veneers, crowns, and dentures.
I eat the blueberries, I drink the coffee, and I know that Smile Actives will keep my teeth white every day.
If you could use something so easy like Smile Actives to take yellow teeth to white teeth, why wouldn't you?
Why spend hundreds of dollars for whitening treatments at the dentist when now you can whiten your teeth with new Smile Actives Pro Whitening Gel every time you brush your teeth? Call or go to smileactives.com and for a limited time get new Pro Whitening Gel for just $24.95. Order in the next 5 minutes and buy one, get one absolutely free for just $24.95. That's 2 for 1 and save 58%. We'll even include free shipping. Get your teeth whiter guaranteed or return it within 60 days for your money back.
I smile every day now.
The difference is literally night and day.
So now I'm always smiling, always choosing, because now my teeth are much whiter.
This offer is not available in stores, so call or click now before the special buy one, get one free offer goes away.
Online dating? I know people meet that way, but where would I even begin?
Open laptop, go to OurTime.com, look for free. It's easy to take a look on Our Time, the dating site for people over 50.
A revealing new survey is laying out which issues matter the most to the fastest growing voting bloc, the AAPI community, and how those issues are consequential to their voting decisions. Some of the top issues include jobs and the economy, inflation, healthcare, crime, education, Social Security, Medicare, and the cost of housing. And according to that same survey, before he dropped out, President Biden was slipping among Asian American voters. From 2020 to 2024, he actually lost 8 points within that demographic. But now the big question becomes, can Vice President Kamala Harris, the first South Asian and Black Jamaican American to lead a major party's presidential ticket, reinvigorate this crucial part of the electorate? Joining me now is Christine Chen, the co-founder and executive director of APIA Vote. Christine, always so good to see you. Thanks for being here. Look, 62% of Asian voters favor the Democratic Party. Do you think Vice President Kamala Harris can capitalize on this existing advantage and actually energize more within the AAPI community?
You know, we've already seen it ever since the announcement. Before this, the first half of this year, I sort of felt like the community was very sleepy and there was no energy. But now Asian American, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders are organizing and it's being led by the women. Though, historically, neither ticket can rely on the API vote without investment and engagement and providing solutions on the issues. But Harris has actually proven that she's not relying on her identity. She has shown up and engaged with our community in the last 4 years. And more recently, she showed up at our presidential town hall just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and I just want to note for our viewers, the invitation was extended for somebody from the GOP to show up at your amazing town hall, and nobody showed up from the Republican side, and actually nobody came from the independent party. I do want to kind of focus on a kind of a microcosm, because these battleground states are the ones that everybody's really focusing on, right? We kind of have an idea of how some of the bigger kind of states are going to go, but there's these battleground states that we're really focusing on. One of those is Georgia. Asian American voters are among Georgia's fastest growing voting blocs. Between 2016 and 2020, AAPI voter turnout in Georgia increased by 84%. Christine, how are recent laws that, for example, place more restrictions on voting, like we've seen implemented and instituted now in states like Georgia, going to be affecting the outcome of an AAPI voter?
Well, we do know that in 2022, 73% of our community chose to vote early or by mail. So with these restrictions, we do have to do a lot more re-education of our community about what their options are and helping them make their plan to vote. We also know that 28% are limited English proficient, and that's why they had leaned toward mail-in ballots, where they could take the time to be at home with their family and friends to go over the ballot and be able to cast that properly. So it is about re-education of our community, doing outreach, not only from the nonpartisan community, but this is where the role of the political parties. We know that in 2020, 1 in 4 ballots cast by AAPIs voted for the first time in many of the battleground states. That actually translated in Georgia, 39,000 first-time AAPI voters that showed up, where Biden won by less than 12,000, right? And so our numbers, we're over-indexing, and bringing in new voters is quite crucial, and making sure that they understand what are their options in terms of casting their ballot.
And Christine, you bring up an issue that's not exclusive to the Asian American Pacific Islander community, language being a potential barrier. I think the number that you guys had was a key finding is that 72% of Asian American voters speak a language other than English at home. And the AAPI vote is not just one big block, right? It's a different groups of communities and cultures and languages and dialects that are a part of it. How important is it to make sure that any candidate going into November make sure that voter attitudes and what impacts them the most is being addressed, especially when you have stuff like cultural barriers and language barriers?
Right. Well, we've already been hearing from our colleagues and our partners on the ground that even the switch in terms of Biden to Harris, there actually has to be education done, especially with the limited English proficient communities. There's been questions like, oh, Biden's no longer running. What does that mean, right? And so even though there's a lot of discussion in mainstream press and those who are English proficient, there needs to be a lot more engagement. And this is where I think the excitement of organizers coming together, those that have never participated, and also younger voters that are now energized are going to be helpful in terms of doing that engagement. And it's also coupled by, this is where we're always asking that the political parties need to do their job in investing resources.
Yeah, so for all you guys out there, don't listen to just the aunties on your Facebook page when it comes to being a high information voter. Christine Chen, it's a privilege to have you spend time with us today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
And thanks to all of you for joining us today. You can catch me back here next Saturday at noon Eastern. Remember to follow us, though, on social media in the meantime using the handle @KatiePhang You can also catch clips of the show on YouTube. And importantly, you can listen to every episode of the show as a podcast for free. Go and scan that QR code on your screen to
of mildew when water has seeped into the interior walls, or maybe they've spotted mold in the attic. But most often, it's the more obvious signs of damage, like rotten soffit, fascia, or water pooling near their foundation. You can get ahead of costly damage by protecting your home's gutters today. We're in your neighborhood and ready to help.
Schedule your free gutter inspection today. Call 833-LEAF-FILTER or visit leaffilter.com.
I tried a bunch of different probiotics before seed,
and they didn't help. It addressed my bloating and my irregularity.
It's really helping my daily bowel movements and keeping me pretty regular.
I started feeling better, I'm less bloated, felt flatter, lighter. I just keep going back to seed because it actually works.
now I walk around and smiling every day because I don't get bloated anymore.
It's time. Yes, the time has come for a fresh approach to dog food. Every day, more dog people are deciding it's time to quit the kibble and feed their dogs fresh food from the farmer's dog. Made by vets and delivered right to your door, precisely portioned for your dog's needs. It's an idea whose time has come.
What I'm about to share is something we don't talk about often enough, so I'm just gonna say it. We apply deodorant to our armpits every day. It's a part of the routine, right? So why do we put up with odors on other parts of our body between showers? It's time you discovered Lumi Whole Body Deodorant for pits, privates, and beyond. I tried it and I noticed a difference right away, everywhere. You won't realize the body odor you've just been living with until you try Lumi and it's gone. Give Lumi Whole Body Deodorant a try and start controlling your body odor better, everywhere.
DealDash.com. Online auctions since 2009. This PlayStation 5 sold for only 50 cents. This iPad Pro sold for less than $34. And this Nintendo Switch sold for less than $20. Go to DealDash.com and see how much you can save.
HomeAglow just cleaned my entire house for $19. Seriously, $19. They showed up right on time and did my dishes, my laundry. They even cleaned my windows. You just pick a date, pick a cleaner, and enjoy a spotless house for $19. I love using HomeAglow, and I think you will too.
I can feel the winds of change.
This is the one who keeps it moving. He stocks the right parts and knows just where to find them. Because this is about more than business. The industrial grade products you need. Call, click, or stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Tonight on Prime Time in Paris, it's a rivalry in the pool.
Bring home the gold and keep the streak alive. Australia has been unbelievable. Katie Ledecky to the wall.
Prime Time in Paris, tonight on NBC and Peacock.
Sunday, 100 days out from Election Day, Vice President Kamala Harris steps up to challenge former President Donald Trump. We'll break down what comes next in this historic election. All day Sunday beginning at 8 a.m. on MSNBC.
All
all of you from MSNBC World Headquarters in New York. Welcome, everyone, to Alex Witt Reports. We begin with Decision 2024, 101 days to the election and a flurry of campaign activity and get-out-the-vote efforts around the country. Right now, Vice President Kamala Harris is in Massachusetts for a fundraising event. First Gentleman Doug Emhoff is in Wisconsin. Governors Josh Shapiro and Andy Beshear are out on the trail for the Harris campaign, while former President Donald Trump will speak today in Tennessee, and his running mate J.D. Vance will join him in Minnesota. Trump is raising new questions and outright concerns today with this electoral comment to a gathering of religious conservatives yesterday in Palm Beach, Florida. Take a listen.
And again, Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have